Well, if it's horsepower you like, you've come to the right place. Indianapolis Raceway Park, the NHRA U.S. Nationals. We're in the semifinal round of funny car competition. It will be Kenny Bernstein up against Johnny West. And Don Garlitz, did you ever consider campaigning one of these cars instead of a fuel dragster?
No, I never did. I've always liked the open cars, you know, where you can see the wheels and everything. I never liked it when they pull that body down.
A little claustrophobic?
I think so, and that also it's real fumey in there, and you get the feeling that maybe it could all just burst into flames at any time. Of course, it never does.
Oh, no, I've never seen one of these burn to the ground. You know, Don, the funny car racers will tell you that they run their engines harder than you guys do in Top Fuel. Is that true?
Not always. There are instances where they run them harder, but you can see by like that Darrell Gwynn's fire earlier, we run the cars pretty hard in Top Fuel.
Of course, the funny car is carrying a couple of 100 pounds more weight. They don't have the engine in the rear of the car for more traction. It takes a different approach.
It's a totally different approach, and the tuner is a different deal. Some of the things work in Top Fuel. Some of Armstrong's tricks have worked on Darrell Gwynn's car, but basically, it's a different approach.
Don, how much of a psychological advantage does Bernstein have in this matchup?
It's a tremendous psychological advantage because Johnny West, on an even start here with Bernstein, cannot outrun him. The statistics will back me up on that. So he's got to get him out of the gate, or Bernstein's got to do something wrong. And so that's really tough on him.
So all the pressure with the man in the far lane, Johnny West, as he faces Kenny Bernstein. And West comes off the line first. West actually leaves ahead of Bernstein. They're running even halfway, but Kenny Bernstein pours on the power in the end, and Johnny West looked great, but still it was Kenny Bernstein with a 5:54.271.
That's right. Johnny West fired his best shot. Good reaction time, good ET, but it just didn't come up to that massive horsepower. Watch closely here in this replay. You can see West is out front very decisively. Then here comes that Armstrong power. He's coming on down, and he powers right on by him.
So Kenny Bernstein takes the win and moves into the final round by beating Johnny West.
Well, Kenny Bernstein will make a final round appearance due to a 5:54 elapsed time. Smooth, clean, beautiful.
Smooth on the outside and clean, but shook real hard on the inside, Steve. It lost some time in the tire shake, but we had to step on it to see if we can get it to go. Oswald's still out there ahead of us.
Would you expect to meet Oswald in the final the way things are going?
Well, you never know. It's a tough day at the U.S. Nationals. To get here is an honor to begin with. But you know, the two cars have been going hard all weekend since Thursday. They've been there.
And they've been beating up on you. They're trying to take all your records away from you. Mike Dunn got speed. Oswald's trying to get ET. You'll be lucky to have your name in National Dragster if you don't win this.
I agree with you, but all we care about is winning the U.S. Nationals and the Winston World Championship for the third time.
Okay.
So for Kenny Bernstein, one very important day. And in the finals, he will face one of two men, either Mark Oswald or Mike Dunn. Don Garlitz, both of whom have very impressive records here.
Yes, they do. The 5:46 for Mark Oswald is just an unbelievable ET, and of course the 278 miles an hour for Mike Dunn is just practically unbelievable.
Well, you've got the fastest car meeting the quickest car. And Don, I want to put you on the spot. Who do you pick of these pair to race Kenny Bernstein?
Well, I think it's going to be Mark Oswald because the only problem they had in the Big Bud Shootout was a water line came loose. They have fixed that, and they have just been model consistency all day long. And I don't think that they're going to shake Oswald up.
Okay, you heard it from Big Daddy. He picks the red car in the near lane, the Thunderbird body machine of Candies and Hughes, driven by Mark Oswald. In the far lane, sitting there calm, cool, and collected, it would appear, was Mike Dunn. A very smooth staging process. Oswald has lost traction. The car turns sideways. He's off the throttle. Mike Dunn wins it. Again, over 270 miles per hour. And as Don Garlitz pointed out earlier with Gary Ormsby, sometimes when you're the quickest car, you're also right on the edge of having just that happen. Not enough racetrack for the kind of power you're building. So Mike Dunn moves into the finals against Kenny Bernstein with a 5:63.
Well, Oswald did a terrific job of gathering the car under him after coming off the line. He moved first, and then almost immediately the tires lost their traction. Now, Dunn lost traction as well, and then Oswald's car pitched sideways, and he had to drive it away from the barrier. So in the final round, it will be Kenny Bernstein facing Mike Dunn, and Bernstein will have the lane choice as he looks for a third world championship.
Well, for the second year in a row, young Mike Dunn is in the final with a fine 572.
Well, I like this race. This race has been pretty good to me the last couple of years. We softened her up a little bit for that run, and it got down through there, but we're going to have to step her up a little bit for the final for the Bud King.
Yeah, did you know that Oswald had smoked the tires?
I figured he probably did because he was out there a little bit off the start, and then he disappeared. So I thought he might have, spun the tires or something happened to him.
Well, I know you got a lot of work to do, so congratulations once again, Mike.
Thank you, Don.
And Mike Dunn knows if he's to have any chance against Kenny Bernstein, that crew has got to make that car leave the starting line just a bit harder. And for Kim LaHaye back in the pit area, I believe she's thinking, if I can just make my dad's car do exactly what it did the round before, we could beat Joe Amato. Stay with us at the NHRA U.S. Nationals.
Third NHRA U.S. Nationals. We're ready for the semifinal round in Pro Stock. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans and Don Garlitz. And Don, as we watch Joe Amato's crew get ready for the finals, what are they thinking? What are they doing?
Well, they're all just being real cool. Tim Richards is putting on some parts. This team is, they're a very relaxed group. You don't see very much excitement over there. Each one is very meticulous in his work, though.
Well, we're about to see some excitement as here comes the semifinals of Pro Stock, and this will be an Oldsmobile versus Chevrolet Camaro affair. And there is the Camaro of Darrell Alderman. Now, he is in the far lane. Warren Johnson put him there. Warren Johnson had lane choice based on the ETs in the previous round. He has taken the near lane with his Oldsmobile Forenza. And Don, even though Darrell Alderman knows that Warren Johnson has the quicker car, Johnson knows that Alderman has just been knocking that tree down with hole shots throughout this event. That's how he got here.
That's exactly right. The question here is going to be who gets off the line first. These cars are very evenly matched.
Now, you mentioned before that sometimes with the Pro Stock, because of the way you have to bring the RPMs up, that staging last can be an advantage. Let's see what happens here. Who will go in, brake first, and turn on both those little yellow lights on top of the tree? There's Warren Johnson, a little fidgeting around there, making sure the car's in low gear, got a good grip on the wheel. In the far lane is the Camaro. That is Darrell Alderman, and only one car will go to the final round. The other goes back in the trailer. They are both pre-staged. Nobody's moving, Don.
No car wants to go in. They just want to sit there revving up their engine. The starter will get nervous. He'll want to force them in because nobody wants to give up that advantage of staging last.
And these are not like the fuel cars. A little bit of heat buildup here isn't going to hurt them. There's the starter indicating they better get in there. And they have the races on. Darrell Alderman just drilled Warren Johnson on the starting line. It is Darrell Alderman, a 759 beats a losing 753. Warren Johnson will be kicking himself.
Well, Warren Johnson was totally asleep when the light came on. Alderman nailed the throttle and disappeared. So Alderman moves into the final round. And he will face the winner of this matchup between Bob Glidden and Butch Leal. Now remember, Glidden working for an unprecedented 8th U.S. Nationals victory. He certainly knows how to win this particular event. On the other hand, Butch Leal has never won here, so he certainly has a tremendous incentive to win. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Darrell Alderman is slowly but surely, I think, stealing Butch Leal's title as the king of the hole shot in this class. You ran 59 to his 53. You got the light.
Yeah, I just had the brakes, I guess, Steve.
What was going on up there? Nobody seemed to want to stage.
Well, you know, you go up and you decide to stage first or stage last, and I'm sure Warren decided to do the same thing.
So both guys wanting to stage last is what we're looking at.
Yes.
What breaks you?
I don't know.
Buster Couch, the starter?
Buster, yes. He can break you quick.
Okay, very good job. Beautiful driving.
Well, Wayne County prepared the car good. That's the main thing.
It has been quick. Going into the final round, Darrell Alderman.
Don Garlitz said so many times before, the key in Pro Stock is whoever gets the hole shot, who gets away first.
That's exactly right. You've got a whole field of 16 cars separated by 1/10 of a second. It's a hole shot game.
Well, Buster Couch, the chief starter at all these races, he can play those games too. Sometimes if there's a long staging war, they'll move in. He'll give them a long light, and both drivers will sit there with those RPMs up, and occasionally one will red light. So you take a chance of Buster maybe taking you on when you play those games.
That's exactly right. The wrath of Buster Couch, the starter.
So we'll see who wins this battle, Leal, Glidden, or the starter. Butch Leal, fantastic at leaving. Bob Glidden, incredibly consistent. Glidden in the near lane, Leal in the far lane. As finally Glidden inches up, immediately Leal comes as well. Leal pulls the front end off the ground while Glidden drifts over to the center line. They're even at the halfway point. Now Glidden pours on the power, and Bob Glidden goes into the final round. Glidden with a 758, 188. Butch Leal with a 768, 183. Don Garlits, good, evenly matched race.
Yes, it was. And Butch Leo, who usually gets the whole shot, didn't get it this time. Bob Glidden, up to a very fine performance, took off from the start and never gave an inch.
But as they both left the line, Don, both of them were really out of control.
Oh, yes, Bob Glidden moved almost on the center line. You can see the mark, so within about 6 inches. But he pulled it back into control and went on for the win.
But once he got it pointed straight, he nailed the power, and Bob Glidden moved into the finals in a possible 8th U.S. Nationals victory. Glidden has the lane choice over Darrell Alderman by 1/100. Let's go to Steve Evans.
Bob Glidden got out of the car saying, I took the wrong lane. What happened?
Sure did. Well, we had a lot of wheel hop and spun, shook, got a little crossed up. I wasn't sure we didn't cross the center line at one point.
Well, only by 100th or so do you have lane choice over your opponent in the final, Darrell Alderman.
It surprises me that we'd even have lane choice, Steve, the one we made. I don't know.
58, 758.
758, and I think Darrell went a 59.
You watch those scoreboards too.
Well, I'll tell you, the competition, you know how it is.
Can you believe you're going into your 11th final round in a row consecutive here at Indy?
I believe it. I know it. We work especially hard for this race, Steve.
Where's this crowd behind you?
We've got great fans, especially here, but everywhere.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
The amazing consistency of the man from Whiteland, Indiana, his shop not 20 miles from here as he goes into the final round. In the meantime, back in the pit area, Kenny Bernstein's crew, Dale Armstrong and the boys go to work on his machine as they prepare for their final round matchup with Mike Dunn. And we'll be back with the final rounds in a